Hey guys, it's Griff, and today I want to talk about Animate Guardian. Also in this video, I want to mention an alternate method for crafting the 8-link crit helmet. This thing. Now remember, there are timestamps below. So, Animate Guardian, the little guy right here, this little bro. I've taken him through multiple simulacrums at this point, wave 30s, I've done the Feared with him, and a handful of other endgame content, and he's good. He survives. I mostly wanted him for Simulacrum, and that's proven to be amazing. So hey, why do all this? So first of all, let's talk about his gear as I kind of like talk about the reasons why we do this. So he's wearing a Kingmaker, if you couldn't tell. Which is providing us 50% critical strike multiplier, culling strike, and 10 fortification stacks. On top of that, he's wearing a Garb of the Ephemeral, which provides crit immunity and a cannot be slowed effect, which is really good for Simulacrum. Like I mentioned before, I really wanted this for Simulacrum, and this was like one of the main reasons. There's a lot of slowing effects in Simulacrum, like Hinder, there's Maiming, these little temporal bubble things that appear on the ground that just so many things slow you down. And if you have an Animate Guardian with Garb of the Ephemeral, all of a sudden nothing slows you down anymore, and it feels amazing. Okay, that was probably the #1 reason I wanted to do this, on top of the fact that he's just giving me a huge amount of damage. On top of that, there's Legacy of Fury. Boots that give nearby enemies are scorched. In his case, he's got 40% increased effect, so it's -14 to all elemental resistances to nearby enemies. But basically, it's, more damage. And makes me tankier. I don't have to worry about getting reduced damage taken from crits on my tree. So like I have a crit mastery that instead of I was using, you take 30% reduced extra damage from critical strikes. Now I can just take plus 25% to critical strike multiplier. Right? It's just more damage because I don't need it. The other gear that he's wearing is basically just to keep him alive. And I've gone over most of the slots already. Let's take a look at Path of Building, in fact. So if we look over here, I have Animate Guardian, and he has his own gear section that you can customize the gear that you put on him. And so I have the default, and then I have AG, which is Animate Guardian. If you go into your items tab, you see default is basically just what your character is wearing. If you go into manage, you can make a new section, name it whatever you want, AG, right? And that's what this is. And then you can just do the drop-down menu, and bam! AG, my Animate Guardian. So this is the stuff that he's wearing, right? I've got the Kingmaker, Garb of the Ephemeral, Legacy of Furies, and then the other two items I haven't mentioned. Southbound are basically just for some life, right? The other thing is Mask of the Stitched Demon. And if you don't know this already, this helmet gives your Animate Guardian an insane amount of life regeneration per second based on how much energy shield he has. But Griff, don't you need the Gravicius mod on your chest piece for your Animate Guardian for that, 10% of max life as extra energy shield? Yes, normally. What I'm doing is I am actually, let's go back to default here. I'm actually using Grave Intentions, and that's giving me 20% of maximum life as extra maximum energy shield. In addition to that, he does get some extra elemental resistances, and very importantly, 53% total chaos resistance, taking him from 20% base chaos res to 73% chaos resistance. So he's almost chaos res capped. Now, I'm also using Purity of Elements, so his elemental resistances finish capping. They start, I think, at 40. So what I had to do to facilitate taking these 3 extra points was I needed to find 3 passives. Like, I'm level 99. I needed 3 passives. I was actually level 98 when I made this switch. But I'm level 99, and 3 passive points are hard to come by. Well, I am on a dual curse setup, and I was taking Whispers of Doom. So what I did is I got the Malediction jewels, the Forbidden Flame and the Forbidden Flesh, which allowed me to refund these 3 points. because this is giving me an extra curse. Now, I did lose some damage. Malediction does give 10% increased damage taken to cursed enemies, but I was using, you know, triple crit multi energy shield rare jewels. So I lost a little bit of damage there, roughly 5%. But I get all of that back and more from having the Animate Guardian. Additionally, Malediction also gives 10% reduced damage taken. Or rather, the enemies deal 10% reduced damage, which stacks really well with Plaguebringer, which does the same thing. Enemies deal 10% reduced damage. So I actually have this setup now. Enemies deal 20% reduced damage. Additionally, getting 10 fortification stacks from my Animate Guardian, which makes me take 10% less damage from hits. This is a really, really nice way to just continuously layer on extra defenses as well as damage. Can't forget the damage, come on. We are having our cake and eating it too. Anyways, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So I had to get these jewels. They cost me just shy of 40x for the two of them. Yes, it's expensive. This build is expensive. So the alternatives to getting, say, the Malediction jewels, because maybe you can't afford them, but you still want to have the Animate Guardian, you could alternatively, you can just anoint Whispers of Doom, because my current anoint is just Heart of Flame, which is just damage. It's good damage, but it is only damage. You could anoint Whispers of Doom, or you can anoint Grave Intentions. Grave Intentions is a very cheap anoint. I would rather anoint Whispers of Doom because these small nodes leading up to Grave Intentions are a bit more useful for the Chaos Resistance, but it is an option. But yeah, so with the Grave Intentions, the 20% of maximum life is extra maximum energy shield. My Animate Guardian has 12,932 energy shield with 57,000 life and 14,296 life regenerated per second. The dude is basically unkillable. I barely see his life ever move, and if it does move, it's just back up to full instantly. So that's really nice. So he doesn't die. But how do we get this much life on a build that is not a minion build, right? Well, the answer to that is we are using a Divergent Animate Guardian, which gives 2% increased minion life per 1% quality. And since the build requires Ashes of the Stars already, well, you know, you put 2 and 2 together and you just naturally get an Animate Guardian with a huge amount of life. I have linked him to only minion life, just a 2120 minion life, and that's it. He's a two-link Animate Guardian, and he survives everything I've thrown him at so far. Now, a 2120, last time I checked, is like 10x for the gem. You can get a 2020, and they were like 1.5x. I bought a 2020 clean one, and I corrupted it, and I got lucky. And that's why mine's level 21. But if you only have a 2020, he still has 51,000 life, 11.8k life regen, and that's fine. Probably. I would assume so. But I'm going to say it's fine to have a 2020. Obviously, a level 21 will be better. Invest as you feel the need. Now, his gear in total was only like 3x, if that, right? Kingmaker, I made it myself, and it was like 30 chaos to make, because Soul Taker is somewhere around 30c, and I had the Heartbound, the Heartbreaker, whatever the heck the thing's called. Yeah, I had the Heartbreaker in my stash. So, if you don't know, it's Soul Taker, Heartbreaker, and an Orb of Fusing, and it's a vendor recipe, so you just sell it to a vendor, and that's how you make us Kingmaker. And it'll save you like 15, 20 chaos to just make it yourself. So pro tip, make it yourself. Don't buy it off the market because they're overpriced. Mask of the Stitched Demon was the singular most expensive piece of this, and it was 2x. Garb of the Ephemeral, I spent 70 chaos on. This was like 3 chaos. And the Legacy of Furies I had in my stash already because killing Maven a few times. But these for like, so you want probably 40% or higher increase effective Scorch, and those are like 4 or 5 chaos. The items are incredibly cheap, other than Mask of the Stitched Demon. Like, your Animate Guardian costing less than 3x, and he like never dies. Mine has not died yet. If he does die, he's not that expensive to replace compared to some of the other things that people do with these guys. So the last thing is, Griff, where did you find the sockets? Like, for real, where are the sockets coming from? Because, you know, my build is pretty socket starved. Well, the answer to that is very simply, I moved my Assassin's Mark from my boots. I was linking them to Mark on Hit. So I removed Mark on Hit and put it in my trigger wand. In my trigger wand, I had Combustion, and I removed Combustion. So that opened up 2 sockets on my boots, and that is now where my Minion Life and Animate Guardian are now located. I think that covers everything for the Animate Guardian. If you have any other questions about it, leave a comment below. And then we're going to move on to the helmet crafting section. All right, so let's talk about crafting the helmet with an alternative method that I didn't mention in my previous video. So if we go to Craft of Exile, we choose Helmet, Hubris Circlet, go Elder, Shaper, etc. You know. Okay, so you have your Elder Shaper base. What do we do? So before, one of the methods was, you know, I just hit it with, you know, the essences until you hit hypothermia, and then kind of go from there. But this is so tedious and is highly RNG. The other way was to use glyphic fossils, which this doesn't actually allow you to use for some reason. But the other way was to use frigid fossils and glyphic fossils, and that was like a 1 in 16 to hit the hypothermia with the 30% more elemental damage. Both ways are highly RNG dependent and kind of frustrating. This next method is actually very deterministic. So you start with essences of horror, of course, because we got to get this 30% elemental damage. So you hit your helmet, and then what you do is you use one, and then you just try to annul away all the suffixes other than the 30% elemental damage. So we removed the 30% elemental damage, so we just hit it again and try again, right? That's really all there is to this first step. Not that hard. It might take a few tries. You can get frustrated with the I annulled it the first time again and again. But there you go. Took a few tries. It's fine. So you get something like this. It can have up to 2 prefixes, and that's fine, right? So if I just, if I were to, I don't know, just add a couple of prefixes here. Let's not add a suffix. Don't add a suffix. There we go. So if we add it like something like this, right? You got 3 mods. It doesn't matter. It could have 2 mods, 1 mod, or 0 mods. As long as you only have 1 suffix, this is what we want. We then go to the bench, and we craft the prefix suffixes cannot be changed. And then you scour it, and now it's blue. Ta-da! So this is where we want to start doing stuff. We once again will craft suffixes cannot be changed. And from here, it is a matter of imprinting with a Craic Chimeral. You make an imprint, and then you go to harvest. And you can farm these yourself. They're super easy. You can go to Kirak, and you can spam his missions for harvests. And cold reforges are very common. So you could do this yourself, or you could go to TFT if you want to. I wouldn't bother going to TFT for cold reforges, but do what you will. So you imprint, you have a cold reforge, and I actually like the cold reforge more common because there are 3 cold modifiers that you can hit: cold res, cold damage to spells, and hypothermia. So take your pick. I found more success with the reforge with more common. And then you hit it. If you miss, you go back to the imprint and you make another imprint. Now, imprints are just shy of an exalt right now, so this does get a little expensive, but it is highly deterministic. It might take you a few tries too, right? So we imprint, harvest, hit it. I'm just gonna undo it. There we go. So now we've got hypothermia. Unfortunately, we have a filled suffix. And honestly, if I hit this helmet the way it is now, with +3 minion and minion damage and hypothermia, I would just sell it. You'll get this a lot too. I was hitting helmets with like conk effect and attack crit, hypothermia. I hit a righteous fire helmet that had burning damage and conk effect, and life. I sold a couple of these things, but if I hit something like this, I'd probably just sell it. But what you do from here is, again, you go back to the to the annul, and you have to take the essentially a 1 in 3 chance, right? And we removed a prefix, that's fine. And then we removed the 30% more damage. Well, now we got to go back to the imprint, right? And that's how you get that first step started in a different, slightly more, a bit more deterministic way, right? It's a lot easier to track your progress when you're doing something like this. Here we've hit cold resistance and hypothermia, and once again, you got to hit it with the annul, and we bricked it, right? There, now we're successful. Undo button on Craft of Exile, making it seem easier than it actually is. It costs on average about the same amount of currency, but there's a lot less like effort involved. I thought this would be worth mentioning and showing for those of you who are into high-end crafting and are interested in crafting this helmet. And yeah, and like before, we hit it with the suffixes cannot be changed, and you just proceed as you would from the previous video. You'd hit the Reforge critical, and we'd hit tier 3 spell crit. You'd be sad if you did this. You'd hit it with an Orb of Domination, and now you have elevated hypothermia, and you try it again, right? Reforge crit now, and then this happens. You get the attacks have plus 3%, and then you cry because RNG sucks. Well, okay, we tried. We hit the domination again. We annulled it off, and we use an Orb of Domination because it's just a 50-50. Instead of having a chance of ripping off the more elemental damage, it's only a 50-50, and that's a lot more appealing to me. Especially the first time when you can elevate the hypothermia up to 25. But yeah, and you just keep doing this until you're successful or until the item bricks, and work from there. We hit again, hit this thing. I'd still hit it with an Orb of Domination. We got rid of the other thing. There it is. Easy, easy. This is good luck. This would never happen. Okay, socketed spells. Oh, look at that. The helmet's done. It's done. See? We got the conk effect even. But yeah, so like you just proceed as per usual. You want to get probably at least tier 2. Mine has tier 2 on it. The socketed spells have plus 2% to critical strike chance. And then if you're not insanely lucky and get the conk effect, you have to go to the Reforge, keep suffixes, and this is where for me it got really expensive, and you just like keep hitting it until you get conk effect, right? What did I have on that last one? Oh, there it is. 2 tries. For me it took like 30 tries. Some other people it took less, probably average of like 20. I don't really know, but there you go. That is the other method to completing the helmet. Hey guys, thank you for watching, and remember, if you like this sort of content from me, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button to help me appease the algorithm gods. And with all that being said, we're gonna insert a catchy phrase here, and peace out.